I've said this on several occasions. Responsibility without authority is slavery. I'm going to give you the setup for this. Authority, 100% authority without any responsibility is tyranny. Understand what the opposite of that is. So 100% responsibility with 0% authority, that's slavery. Those are the definitions of those fucking words. Okay. You don't have to be responsible for anything, but yet you have 100% authority over whatever. Like, circumstances be damned. Somebody else is going to take the fall. Doesn't matter. That's tyranny. And so when we look at things like gynocentrism, like women, like I think conservatives get too hung up on the idea of feminism. Feminism is just the ideological branch of gynocentrism. Gynocentrism is the social order itself. It places the female experience above everything else. The sisterhood of Borealis, it places it above everything else. Men are subhuman in a gynocentric social order. So when we like, there's always something wrong with men. It's always their fault. So when I'm talking about, when we're talking about authority versus responsibility, like a lot of people say, well, men are always in power. They have all the responsibility, they have all the authority. They can do whatever they want to. Well, I think a lot of people think of that in terms of like in the family structure, right? Well, men should be there. We already have the authority. We just don't take it. Well, try taking it. Try exercising that authority, and let's see how it works out for you. The reason why it's a popular meme right now, and even Nick Fuentes is quoting it to Tucker Carlson, and they say, well, it's mic drop time. Yeah, well, mic drop for TFM, not for me, not for anybody else, not for Myron, not for Nick Fuentes. It's for Turtling Monkey, who brought this up, okay? He's the one who parsed this out before anybody else did. So don't think that Nick's some brilliant guy. He's just parroting back what he heard from Myron, who parroted it back from me, who parroted it back from Turtling Monkey. Okay, so at least I know the chain. It's the telephone game, and it finally got to Nick, who was at the end of the line, right? But that's the difference. So when we're looking at gynocentrism, it is a social structure by women for women that is based on four principles or four pillars, right? It is the blank slate. It is social constructionism, egalitarianism, and emotionalism. Those are the four pillars of gynocentrism. You take out one of those things, and whatever your pet ideology is, wokeism. I know Helen Anderson has been talking about how the female psyche, the female way of organizing society, if you put women into positions of political and social power, you get the woke. Women are woke. Women are the woke. The female perspective, the female interpretation of social problems, of psychology, of politics, of economics, name the field of entry or field of inquiry, name it. And if there's a woke interpretation of it, it all traces back to the female psyche. Women organize society in the round. It is all about communitarianism. It is not about hierarchies. It is about community. That's why socialism seems like a good deal. That's why communism seems like a good deal. That's why even the early suffragettes were on board with Marxism back then, because it seemed like it dovetailed really nicely. Oh, we're all going to be equal? Great. Women too? Well, except for black women, except for because they were still very, very, even Katie Stanton was very racist. Susan B. Anthony, very racist. So votes for women, unless they're black, then no. But it wasn't so much about the politics or the race or anything. It was just basically they wanted power, and that was seen as a way of soft power back then. So I traced feminism back to the reason I brought up Katie Stanton is because I trace it back to the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848, which I think is largely agreed on as like sort of the beginning of the suffragette movement. And so those were the quote unquote first wave feminists, which there was no waves. They're still the same impetus. It's still a supremacy movement. So it's female supremacism is all it is. They had a goal, which was getting the 19th Amendment ratified, which took one vote from the senator. That's from some mama's boy in Tennessee. I can't remember the dude's name, but the story is that they were going to have the right. They was on the ballot. They were going to say, votes for women. They're going to ratify the 19th Amendment for the Constitution. And it was one senator it was on August 18th, 1920, and I forget the guy's name, one guy from Tennessee, and his mom was a suffragette. His mother was a women's rights kind of thing. She wrote him a personal letter, put it in his pocket. He read it, and it was like, vote for women. And so he was the one that there was one vote by one beta male. It would have been in a deadlock. It had it not before that one guy who was going to vote against it. And then his mom said, vote for it. He did. And the rest is history. And so up until that point, from like 1848, 1849, I think it was, for Seneca Falls, you're looking at about a 70-year history. Like if you just round it off to like 1850 to 1920, you're looking at 70 years. And it wasn't just a United States thing. It was also a UK thing. And the suffragettes were considered terrorists. They bombed police precincts. They planned political assassinations. They were very, as I said, they're very racist. So it was very much a supremacism movement. And you got to remember that voting was a much different prospect back then. You had to have skin in the game. I mean, that was the idea anyways. Now we've changed since then, everything. Like an 18-year-old girl on TikTok has the same political power as a 45-year-old man with 2 kids, 1 wife, owns his own business, and has a golden retriever in his front yard. Like he has the same political power as that 18-year-old girl shaking her ass on TikTok. That's not that's not how the founders envisioned voting for, like, everybody gets a vote. No, you had to have skin in the game. In fact, women have more political power, more political rights than men do, because men have to sign up for selective service to be eligible to participate in politics. Right? Women don't have to do that. So if you have a penis, you have to qualify for it through risking your life, versus women who already have it automatically. And that's what I wanted to sort of get at here before I started launching into this, is that I've been kind of bouncing this idea around, and it comes back to what Tristan Tate said about simping. And if, as you recall, Tristan Tate said that simping is an unequal exchange of value between a man and a woman, right? And so we get these conversations. I think you hear it on whatever podcast, you'll hear it on Myron Fresh, and they'll be like, what do you bring to the table? Even Andrew Wilson, when he was talking to Tommy Lahren, this is like kind of when it was a germ of the idea. And Tommy Lahren was speechless because she couldn't think of anything that was an upside for men in marriage, or anything was an upside to sort of like the arrangement that we have between, like, men need to do this and they need to do that. They need to live up to this potential. They have this laundry list of things. And Andrew had one simple question, which was, what's in it for men? And she was just like rage stricken, right? She was just like, rage quit, because she couldn't come up with an answer. It was just like, get this pussy. But she couldn't say on Piers Morgan, you get this pussy. That wasn't going to come out of her mouth. But like, so what does she do? She shames him for like even asking the question. A real man wouldn't ask that question. Well, do you have an answer for it? Okay, I won't be a real man, but do you have an answer for it?
Time to derail the conversation.
Time to derail, yeah. Emotional reframe. Couldn't answer it, because between men and women, there will never, and ladies, I hate to break this to you, especially if you're one of these conservative chicks that was on Twitter, I'm gonna speak in a language you can understand. There will never be a state of equality between men and women. It will never happen. And the reason because one sex, the male sex, is expected to die for the other sex, for the female sex. Now, so that's written into our DNA. It's written into our code. It's the male protector instinct, right? So when a mass shooting event happens, like here in like Vegas or something like that, and guys are like jumping in front of live ammunition to protect, to put their body between a woman they don't know and live ammunition. They couldn't tell you why they did that. It's just instinctually they do it, right? If they have time to think about it, they might. But when in the moment, like was it James Holmes in the Aspen, Colorado theater shooting? Men put themselves physically in front of women they didn't know to take a bullet for that woman. They died, she lived. There can never be an equal exchange of value. Never. I don't care. Come up with anything you have to say. Well, we give you babies and life. Okay, but I die. But I die for you, because it's an instinctual thing. It's an evolutionary thing. But even if whether I would die for my wife, I would die for my daughter, right? I die. There is no possible way my wife can come up with an equal exchange of value. I retired her almost 4.5, 5 years ago, right? She is financially dependent on me. My decisions matter to her life. My success is her success. She's invested in my success. How many women would be willing to sign, even if the guy could do that? If a guy says, don't worry, baby, I got you. Everything is good. I'm going to take care of you. I've got enough money for us both. I'll take care of the dogs and your mother-in-law, whatever, all this stuff. I'll do that. Most women wouldn't even do that. They would, I still need my career. I want my OnlyFans. I need my Instagram.
Protection.
I need my job. I need my fail safe. I mean, because you know why? Because you're with a guy you don't have any real desire for. If you did, you'd be like Eva Mendes. I want your babies. Fucking take care of me. I'm all about it. Yes, please do. You don't trust. Like we have had 4 generations of women who have been taught that men are inherently are untrustworthy. Never trust a man. And if you do, you better have some backup. You better have your own slush fund, right? You better be like what Akash Singh. His money's my money, and my money's my money. That he's probably maybe he's paying for her way. But it's her money is her money and his money is her money too, basically. So would you be willing to give up all of that? Would you be willing to trust a guy with your future? My wife is. She's down. She's down for everything because she definitely has genuine desire for this guy. But the thing is like in a gynocentric social order, in the state of humanity, there is no fucking possible way there can be an equal exchange of value. So I think, and I'm, not to shit on Tristan Tate, but like thing is, I think we need to reassess what simping actually is. So it's like my dogs, like I have, and I don't mean to compare women to dogs. I'm just saying like my dogs, what do they bring to the table? I got to feed these fucking dogs. I pick up their shit. But I get something intangible out of Ned, out of Anna. I like my dogs. I've had so many dogs. I can't even, they're like, Anna is number 9.
Oh my God.
My 9th greyhound.
I've only had like 4 dogs. So
yeah. Well, they have a very short shelf life. Yeah. But what do I get? It's all make it rain for the greyhounds, But what do I get out of it? Nothing. What do you bring to the table, Ned? Woof. Woof. That's what you bring to the table. Fuck. Do something. Like how do I say that? I don't. How do you say that to a woman? I am the table. No, you're not. Because I would die. I have to die for you first. Maybe you die later. But I have to die for you. It's expected for me to go down with the ship. Women and children first. I'm last. I have to go down with the ship. I have to die. That's why I hate this comparison of like, well, there has to be a captain of the ship, and then there's the first mate, and she should be your first mate, and she should always be able to tell you this stuff and everything. Oh, yeah, but the thing is the captain goes down with the ship. The first mate can jump ship and go get on a better ship, right? Captain doesn't get to do that. You go down with the ship. You have to die for her. And most guys, especially the doomers, will say, I'm not die for any bitch. Okay, fine. But the expectation is there. The instinct is there. So with that in mind, how is there ever going to be an equal exchange of value? There's never going to be. You can't. Even if she is like paying all your bills and you got a sugar mama, you're still expected to die for her. Intruders come into the house. Guess what? You go downstairs with a baseball bat and you get shot first. You're supposed to. Why? Because you're supposed to. A man's man would do that.
I mean, that's even a trope in shows where the wife would see that the man is not, quote unquote, man enough to protect her, and all of a sudden it becomes a big problem in the relationship.
Oh yeah. Well, like when remember back, it was a while ago. I think like back in the 2023 when there was that rash of like guys that were like brothers that were going around and smashing like women in the face on the subways.
Yeah, it was.
And it was the first thing they said. Where are the men? How come the men aren't defending? Why? Are they supposed to? Yes, they are supposed to. That's why that's the go-to instinct is to say, where are the men? Why aren't they doing this? You want to know why it's your fault if you cheat? Because you're the man. You're responsible. You have the responsibility. You know why it's your fault if she cheats? No, you weren't meeting her needs. She was unhappy. That's if you had been a better man, she wouldn't cheat on you. If you were a better man, she would want to fuck you. If you got right with God and you were walking in your faith or whatever, then she'd want to fuck you, because if mama ain't happy, it means God's not happy, right? So the thing is you are a sacrifice no matter what. You're expected to die. You're expected to sacrifice your wants and your everything else for the betterment of this woman. That's why whenever I post this, I say, men, gentlemen, I put this on Twitter. You do not owe women a better life. People lose their fucking minds every time I do that. I love putting that out there too, because it just fucks with people's understanding of, well, men, because what do you mean? I should give her every, what about my mom? What about my wife? If she earns it, then you don't owe her a fuck. You don't owe her shit. You don't owe women anything, especially now. But why does that mess with people's minds? Why does that? Because it fucks with the fundamental order of things. I think on some level of consciousness, men understand that they are supposed to die for their women. And in that state, there will never be equality between the sexes. When one has to die for the other, that's it. End of story, no equality. So going forward, what do we do about that?